Hey everybody, welcome to Vacuum Wars, and to my best robot vacuum competition video for 2021. I've tested a lot more robot vacuums this year, bringing the grand total to around 55. I wanted the winners to be very data-driven this time, so I took all the results from the tests I've done and their specs and features and put it all into a spreadsheet and gave them rankings for each category. And even I didn't know which ones were going to win until I added it all up. So links in the description to everything I'll mention, and let's get started. I'll first go over all the different tests with brief explanations about why that test is important and how I scored it. Eventually, I'll end up with a top 10 overall list based on that raw data, which I will then whittle down to my personal top 3 picks and a best budget option. Starting off with the performance category, I test things like their airflow and suction on all their power settings. I found these scores to be generally predictive of their performance, but there are a number of other factors, such as the Crevice pickup test, which I found to be a good way to see things like their power as well as their seal on hard floors. I scored this with a 0 being the worst and a 4 being the best. Next, I have the carpet deep clean test. This is where I embed sand into medium pile carpet and weigh their dust bins before and after a 5-minute run. I found this to be one of the most consistent ways to see variations in robot vacuum's performance, and so I gave extra weight to these results. I found that a robot either needs to have a lot of power to do good here, or it needs multiple brush rollers, like with iRobot's patented 2-brush roll design, and you can see that Roombas tend to dominate this particular test. I also took into account their ability to pick up debris on the surface of hard floors and carpets as well, but here there isn't as much variation. In fact, I think debris pickup from the surface of floors is something that just about all robot vacuums do quite well, and while there are some that are better than others, it's pretty hard to quantify. So I only negatively scored the few robots that had obvious problems here. I consider battery life a performance score and base this off the manufacturer's stated battery life, typically on their lowest power setting. Though I found that battery life isn't as important as it used to be, because with smart vacuums at least, they typically have something called recharge and resume, where when they run out of battery, they return to their dock to recharge and then resume cleaning on the exact same place on the map that they left off until the job is completed. Let's move on to features, and we should start off with one of the biggest things, which is navigation. Originally, robot vacuums all sort of randomly bounced around to clean your house, and most robot vacuums under a certain price range still navigate this way today. They are what I call random robot vacuums. However, a few years ago, they started adding either cameras or lasers, which help the robot to create a map of your entire house, so that not only could it clean in a systematic way instead of randomly, but it ensured that the robot would clean your entire house every time, which was not always a guarantee with random robots, especially if you had a larger house. I also gave them extra points if they had one of my favorite navigation features, which only smart robots have, which are virtual barriers that you can draw on the map in the app to keep the robot from going where you don't want it to go. I think probably every house has a spot or two that a robot is likely to get stuck, and after it makes that initial map of your house, you can draw a box around that area and never have to come home to a stuck robot. One cool feature that's shown up in the past couple years is obstacle avoidance sensors. These can again be cameras or lasers, but are typically mounted on the front of the robot so that they can, quote, see things that are too low for their IR sensors or LiDAR sensors to see, and too light for their bump sensors to detect. Things like cords, socks, and pet waste. I think these new obstacle avoidance systems are great, and if you think that there is a possibility that pet waste might be in the mix, it is well worth the money. Another big feature is mop attachments. This is where you have the option to attach a pad with a mop and it will vacuum and mop at the same time. These vary a lot in terms of quality, from the cheaper ones, which is just a microfiber cloth on a plate with a drip-fed water tank, to the super impressive ones like the Roborock S7 or the new D-Bots that have advanced electric tanks where you can control the flow of water in the app, along with separate features in the app to keep it from mopping your carpets, or in the case of the S7, the mopping pad senses and moves the mopping pad if it encounters carpets. I think mopping is a genuinely useful feature that adds a lot of value, and I scored them with a simple 3-tiered system. I did another 3-tiered scoring system with the app design and app features. Some of these companies have amazing apps where you can tell a lot of money has been spent to make it a good experience, and some are buggy and just less good. The final feature I'll mention is these auto auto-empty bin systems. This is a new feature that I really do like. It's when a robot finishes its cleaning job, it returns to these bins, then a motor in the base kicks in, and it sucks the debris from the dustbin into the included bag or bagless bin. I feel like these bins really do make the whole process seem automated. You hardly ever have to think about vacuuming, especially if you have the vacuum's job scheduled to automatically start when you are away. This year I gave a lot more weight to consumer satisfaction, so I took into account their review scores online and gave them extra points if they had more reviews. In fact, I didn't even count them if they had less than 500 reviews. This really hurt vacuums that just came out, like the Roomba J7 Plus, which doesn't have hardly any reviews yet, but spoiler alert, it made the top 10 anyway, so it's okay. Finally, I took into account their price. Here, I simply made it so the more expensive they were, the less points they got in this category. So here are the top 10 robot vacuums based on all that raw data, and you can see that iRobot, Roborock, and Ecovacs are all well represented here. But the numbers don't tell the whole story, and there are a few vacuums on this list that I actually would not recommend, which is why I'm taking these and making another short list. I want to start off with my budget pick because I think one of the most surprising things of this whole competition is that the Roborock S7 Max and the Wise Robot Vacuum ranked so high with the overall scores without having either an auto-empty bin or an obstacle avoidance system. They both have amazing customer satisfaction scores though, and if you want to save a lot of money, I'm sure you'll be happy with either one of these robots. The Roborock S7 Max does have a mopping system where the Wise doesn't, but the Wise has to be the actual pick for budget robot because it's just so inexpensive for what it is. In past competitions, the budget robot was always a random robot, but since Wise, who was known for their inexpensive security cameras, entered the robot vacuum market, they really sort of redefined what a budget robot vacuum is. If you want one with an auto-empty bin, I'm honestly torn between how to rank my overall top 3. The Roomba J7 Plus, the Roborock S7 with the auto-empty bin, and the Ecovacs N8 Pro Plus or the Ecovacs T8 AIBI. They all have their pros and cons. For example, if you have a lot of carpets and pets, I think the Roomba J7 Plus with its amazing carpet deep clean scores is awesome. It also has the obstacle avoidance system, and it's the only bin I tested that was able to withstand the torture test of 2 weeks worth of cat hair without clogging. On the other hand, the Roborock S7 with its advanced mop is a good option, or the Ecovacs N8 Pro Plus, also with a mop and with a laser-based obstacle avoidance system. There's a lot of nuance with these three, so check the reviews on my channel for the one you're leaning towards. Just a note on disclosures. While I have not done any sponsored content this year and don't intend to do any in the future, in years past I have done some sponsored content with companies like Shark and iRobot, and I've been sent free robots to review by some of the others on this list, like Roborock and Ecovacs, but I hope you can tell that none of these past relationships affected these results. Check the links in the description where I link the products and our in-depth reviews of each, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars before you leave. Thanks for watching.